Hello and welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about King Eadwig of England and about his scandalous coronation and basically a little bit about his life. So King Eadwig of England was born around the year 940 and he was the eldest son of Edmund I of England and his wife Eadwig. So Eadwig's father died when he was really young, so that meant that his uncle Edred became king. But Edred died unmarried in his 30s, so that meant that Eadwig became King of England in 955 around the age of 15. So we don't really know much about Eadwig's early years before he became king. We first start to hear about him and his brother Edgar in 955, so this would suggest that while they were younger they were not at court that much. So almost as soon as he became king, Eadwig clashed with Dunstan, the Abbot of Glastonbury and future Archbishop of Canterbury. Acting as a typical teenager, as soon as Eadwig came to the throne, he started to assert his independence. And this began to upset some of the most influential people in the country, including Dunstan. But life carried on and Eadwig was crowned king at Kingston upon Thames towards the end of January 956. So during his coronation banquet, Eadwig became bored because he was a typical 15-year-old boy, and so he slipped away back to his apartments. It was noticed that the king was missing, so Dunstan and some other people went looking for him. According to Dunstan's earliest hagiographer, as the nobles had requested, they went in and found the royal crown brilliant with the wonderful gold and silver and various sparkling jewels that made it up, tossed carelessly on the ground some distance from the king's head, while he was disporting himself disgracefully between two women as though they were wallowing in some revolting pigsty. They said to the king, "Our nobles have sent us to ask you to come with all speed to take your proper place in the hall, and not to refuse to show yourself at this happy occasion with your great men." Dunstan first told off the foolish women. As for the king, since he would not get up, Dunstan put out his hand and removed him from the couch where he had been fornicating with the harlots, put his diadem on him and marched him off to the royal company, parted from his women if only by main force. So one of the women that King Eadwig was fornicating with was his future wife Eadwig, and the other woman was her mother Eadwig. Now, Eadwig didn't like Dunstan that much, and she managed to convince Eadwig to take all of Dunstan's possessions off of him and to exile him. Now, Eadwig married Eadwig, but the church had their marriage annulled because they said that they were too closely related because they were third cousins. Eadwig died in 959 when he was about 19 years old, but we don't actually know how he died. It could have been of natural causes, or he could have been murdered, because at the time Eadwig was not that popular. By the end of Eadwig's reign, England had been split into two, with Eadwig ruling the south of the country and his younger brother Edgar ruling the north. The reason that this happened was because there had been lots of political disputes, mainly because of the favouritism that Eadwig was showing to his friends, and because of this the nobles in the north completely turned their back on Eadwig and made Edgar their king. So after his death, Eadwig's reputation took a serious nosedive because of what was written about him. William of Malmesbury did say that Edgar was a wanton youth and one who misused his personal beauty in lascivious behaviour. But really what we do know about Eadwig comes from Dunstan's hagiographer, who said that Eadwig was a debaucher, a despoiler of the church and an incompetent king. But it's not really surprising that Dunstan's hagiographer would say this about him, seeing as they did not get on. So can we really trust that this was how Eadwig actually was and what his personality was like? But can we really trust that this is what Eadwig was actually like? There are some contemporary writings about Eadwig which are a lot nicer to him. Ethelweard writes about Eadwig: "For his great beauty got the nickname All Fair from the common people. He held the kingdom for 4 years and deserved to be loved." because Eadwig was actually more kinder to the common people. In 956, Eadwig had issued 60 charters of land, which is an exceptional number to have issued during the year, and no other ruler in Europe is known to have matched this before the 12th century, and most of these were mainly in favour of laymen. So that is the story of King Eadwig of England and his scandalous little coronation. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.